So I watched Enter the Void, written and directed by Gaspar Noé, specifically the director's cut on Blu-ray from Arrow Video. The film follows drug dealer and addict Oscar living in Tokyo with his sister, and the film starts with a conversation between the two on a balcony, and straight off the bat the film is shot in first person, which I thought was a really interesting choice, and one that I think makes it feel like you were going on the ride with Oscar for everything. Eventually they end up talking about how he started reading the Tibetan Book of the Dead that his friend gave him, which will be important later. So once his sister leaves, he then smokes some DMT, and what follows is these mesmerising visual effects that really show the kind of film you're about to get into, and it was genuinely beautiful to look at. These sorts of visuals are present throughout the entire movie, and it genuinely is an amazing experience. Eventually he gets a call asking him to give some of their stuff back at the Void, and he's reluctant at first, asking him to pick it up instead, but eventually the friend that gave him the Tibetan Book of the Dead knocks at his door and they end up chatting before going on a walk, whilst he is absolutely high, just out of his mind, and he ends up going to the Void, and during a police raid he is shot in the chest in the middle of a bathroom, which is the catalyst for the next 2 hours of this film that you're about to experience, and it very much is an experience that you won't regret watching. What proceeds to be shown is essentially Oscar reliving his life in his last final moments, as his body lies limp inside an absolutely just disgusting toilet stool, with the camera shifting to a third person perspective as we morph into seeing Oscar's life like a fly on the wall. I genuinely cannot reiterate enough how beautiful this movie is, from its shots to its colour grading. It's genuinely stunning to look at, and it's this out of body psychedelic experience that I just could not look away from. It beautifully shows a story about life and death and the meaning of life and how precious it is and how each life is beautiful, and it generally was quite surreal and entertaining to watch, and I cannot express enough how stylized this film is in every sense. And as much as I keep going on about the visuals, they're genuinely the main selling point of this film. I mean, it's covered in psychedelic visual effects, flashing neon lighting, and just superb camera work. Encompassing this film is this overwhelming sense of dread, a look at what makes life worth living and about what life is like after death. It, in my opinion, doesn't attempt to answer this question, but rather to give you a visual trip of a person's life. The film is very creative and experimental, and to me it felt like a love letter to existentialism, religion and life after death, but it's definitely more style over substance, which for a 2.5 hour movie means that it could drag on a bit too much at points, and is in a way its only downfall when the visuals are the focus point and the plot comes second. It is an incredibly emotional film, and you really get stuck inside of Oscar's mind, his thoughts, his feelings and his experiences, and it was quite overwhelming if I'm being honest. You know, it made me laugh, it made me cry, and it was genuinely like a roller coaster that you just could not get off, going round and round for 2 hours in this surreal sequence of light and colour and sound, blurred by the pure speed of the thing. The pacing at around 1.5 hours to 2 hours felt quite different from the rest of the film, and I was somewhat taken out of it. The pacing shifted in a way that felt out of place, although I did enjoy a handful of the transitions in that part. I thought that the end of the film was quite weird in its presentation, and the sequence dragged on a little bit, but it overall was quite a visually interesting scene, and without spoiling anything, I think that it was quite cyclical in its presentation and was a really interesting end to the film. This was the first movie I've seen by Gaspar Noé, and I genuinely am blown away by the quality and the visual effects and the stylistic choices, and it was just a great start, and I want to watch more in the future. I want to give a huge well done to the editors Marc Bucrot, Gaspar Noé and Jerome Pesnel, and to the cinematographer Benoit Deby, I think that's how you pronounce the name, sorry if that's wrong, for their amazing work on the film. Paz de la Huerta's, Nathaniel Brown's and Olly Alexander's acting was amazing, and the film definitely wouldn't be the same without them, and I hope to see more films featuring them in the future. And I am rating Enter the Void a 4.5 out of 5. There could have been some better pacing, and I can definitely see why the theatrical cut was 2 hours instead of 2.5, but you know, let me know your thoughts on the film in the comments, or any films you'd like me to watch, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.